that we can pop up. Like, so I don't know how to best sort of represent that. But it's sort of crowded.
It's noisy.
It's noisy. And then some description, like this is the latency. And then we had over here, like, some of the stuff that Tony wrote. We'll scroll through maybe a couple of these. These will move up.
Maybe two on the nose, but like the app icons from, or stylized app icons from Fang apps. Just like
could be a
Twitter thing, a little Netflix icon.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
I had
Or
the
allude
same.
to it, right? Like just
Yeah.
looks like tweets or something. Yeah.
Looks
Yeah,
like tweets,
just
looks like videos. Yeah, like that would be cool. I had a similar
just
vision.
like the infinite feed sort of aspect of it. It's just like everything's flying at you.
Just bubbles of like chat stuff too. Yeah.
The Discord red icon infinitely going up. Just like
Just
infinity
along the whole left-hand side
Yeah.
of the thing. Then it fades away and you're like, oh.
Yes, yes.
Honestly, just tons of like chaotic, semi-familiar icons, but they all have red dots.
yeah,
They're
stuff
all
like
just
that.
red dotted as fuck. Just notifications out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that general idea. However, I think like a bird that's like the Twitter logo screaming some shit. Like, yeah, some word balloons, some like just however we do that. Like, then that stuff moves up out of the frame. There's some statement here. Something about sanity or yeah, I don't know. There is some interstitial statement that I think we can copyright. So there's valuable sense to be found here, but you can't find it alone. I think is in the direction, but not what we're looking for necessarily. So, but we can sort of go through each of these transitions and try to see what we're trying to say, and then like see if we can grab that. So I like this "you are here" thing. I don't know what that means necessarily, but so this is where like, all right, like it clears out and then no. Some kind of land, I don't really know what we say here. So we had this, but yeah, so
Something along those lines. Yep.
yeah, and then this kind of like we could have this like sort of fix the frame. So like this scrolls up and then it locks in place. There's a bunch of options with this, like
Could you have, when that happens, that stuff, it turns into like a blue sky? Is that super fancy?
I mean, whatever, we just have to, whatever's on the screen has to transition to something else. We can fade it out. We can, I mean, fading it out and sizing it up and down are the easiest transitions. Morphing between two things is much more complex. So we want to keep, and we can keep anything on the page and then move things out of the page. But like it is one big sliding thing. So I don't know how to you can pin things and you can fade things in and out. So yeah.
A helpful way to think about it is like anything that like a stage crew can do, like pulling things up and like making things appear. That's all simple.
Totally.
But if we need things to transform, that gets more complicated.
No transformations. I mean, you can spin stuff and like, you know, make them bigger and smaller or whatever, but like we're not doing anything fancier than that, because all that stuff Framer does really easily. But yeah. So the question here is, I mean, so there is that, like, what is the stage setting like, and then what is the content? And so we're trying to pull back and forth between those to figure it out. So are we chaos moving that through and then locking a frame is the question, or are we just moving into like a series of blocks or something? This is where
Kind of like silly idea I have here is as you scroll down, this island becomes like here, and then you could like see a little boat like go this way. You know, this is a ship, and then it's on the expedition, and then we like comes back back to the island. So it's like more like across the horizontal axis. But I don't know if that makes
it's
sense.
possible.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I see what you're saying.
all right, one way to do that would be this locks your frame. Fucking lack of undo is something here. This is the browser. Now, this stuff would need to move out of frame. Storyboard this time. Yeah, because like you could at the bottom of the page do something like that. Like you have island ship, and then we have the, I don't like that guy. Too happy.
The sea monster.
Yeah.
Sea worm.
It's interesting personification of the latency too.
Mhm. Okay, are you doing with freehand or on tablet?
With a mouse.
It usually doesn't go that well for me.
A lot of practice. So as you scroll, like we could change out the content here and then have this
Move through.
Yeah. It's an option. Similar to the, so this would they would build in. It's something, it's cute, like, but we still need to figure out the guts of the content. So this is where we have.
Yeah, what's our main? Yeah, the main flow. So from common ground, we go to ships. That's the,
I think so. So this is where we need to work the core of the transitions and stuff.
yeah.
So
So I think, so this is the visualization of ships with a crew going expeditions. There could be like a little zine here too,
mhm.
and then like at least usually from like editorial standpoint, that's a decent, so you're giving people a frame for what's about to happen. So the narrative to move down into ships then, I like, so welcome to Common Ground. From here we explore and make sense of what's out there. But first,
Yeah. So
we'll need a ship.
yeah, it's all right. All right, acting this out. Yeah, what's the transition? Some stuff. Didn't get anywhere with that. Rise up out of the sea with the promise. It's like you are here, like a home for explorers.
Yeah, adding a little more. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, because we could just say like, welcome to Common Ground or Isla Cadora. I don't know. From here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. Sense is made by looking at the same things with new eyes. Something I wrote. I don't know if that goes anywhere. Put it here. Home for explorers. Island grows, the ships get smarter, and the crews have more fun together, and the expeditions get harder, and the scenes get more interesting. That can
I mean,
kind
you
of
could do a thing of, yeah, like do the whole loop right here. So people get the full download right away. Like if we can come up with the copy for, so here's how things work here. That, that, that,
I-
that, that, that. And then you can go through it in more detail.
Yeah, I think somebody said of like small, but then larger
Hmm.
chunks as you get deeper. Like we can expand how much we feed them at a time. I think you can't hit a threshold where you can just drop a bullet. I think you're onto something there. It doesn't have to be the same beat the entire thing, right? You can.
no, like we can jump.
It's the
Yeah.
iceberg stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So okay, you're here. Okay, how do we get that? Latency. The island comes up. What the fuck does that look like? Something. It's in a frame. And then here, I mean, basically, this is how the game works. Like, this is how this place works. This is how, yeah, this transition. Valuable sense to be found out there, but you can't find it alone. You're here. Welcome to Common Ground. And here we go. Like few home for. So maybe like. Isla Cadora, a home for exploration. Yeah, this transition is.
I'm just working at, is it a home for people and then a base for X?
Yeah, a jump off, a home for explorers.
Wait, why can't you undo? Okay.
I think it's when it's in joint mode or whatever.
All right, so you move from the latency. It's really busy. It starts to fade out a little bit. as the island comes into view is effectively what we're working with the transition. The water gets more clear, and then
Mhm.
you wash up, like however we make that transition onto Isla Cordura. And there's like the felt sense is relief, and it's comfortable here,
Yeah.
like in a way that the latency wasn't. So
Yeah,
you
it's
have a moment to look around you. And as you look around you, what you're taking in is what happens here. And you like what you see is what we're going for, I think.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, chaos and then sanity, which is Isle of Sanity, which makes sense. Yeah, what comes into frame? Like how do we what is that the visual of this, the actual like structure of this is what
A
I'm struggling with.
signpost,
So
like where you get to
yeah,
like a
What
thing of
part
interest.
what part are you stuck on right now? Which piece?
When you first get on the island.
yeah, so like the island or something that represents the island comes into view. The sea goes away, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a backdrop of something that represents common ground, right? Like you are now, that's where you are here.
Yeah.
And from here you are you have washed up as an explorer. Few make it here, but you're one of them. And so now like here's what the game is like. This is
Right.
like the game of this place is like, ultimately it's explorations into the sea with ships and crews that bring back zines that like grow the island, right? That
Right.
Well,
that whole thing we're trying
So-
to get across.
If
I
you're
don't
seeing
think you
the
have to say
island,
island because we're showing it. We don't have to talk
Yeah.
about it because you're showing it on there. So we can just
Yeah,
have
yeah,
something in
yeah.
the background. Don't have to talk about that. So then what is
Can-
it? You've made it to some, you can just say like, hey, you survived. Let's, right? Grab a crew.
can you pan out to reveal a boat just
Do we
offshore?
start?
So maybe a docked or in a marina.
So I think we need to there's text here, right? Like that's primarily the story conveyance, right? We're scrolling up lines of text, I believe. I think that the visuals like correspond with that. So like welcome, a home for explorers, a base for expedition, something like this. And then it could be
First things first, you're gonna need a ship.
mhm.
It makes sense what's out there.
But the thing about ships is you're also gonna need a crew.
I think it's okay
Yeah,
to wait till they get to the ship to explain the needs of people. I don't mind punting out a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. That's just I'm trying to do
Yeah.
the thing, the South Park, but
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I'm trying to work on it not because it is related. But how?
Well, it says
So it's,
from here we explore and make sense of what's out there. Therefore, you need a
Mhm.
ship.
yeah,
Yeah.
how else are you gonna go out there? You don't want to
Okay, so
come.
from here we explore.
You don't want to come out go out the way you came in. You almost died.
How about this? You can't get back out. Just say you can't go back out without a ship. Don't even say you need to. Just say like the conditions are you survive, but you have to get a ship to go anywhere now, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we were going for a lengthier one, you could have like a thought bubble where it's like, I could go back out alone and you show the person drowning,
Mhm.
or I could go out in a ship and they're like, shit.
It's great. It's good dialogue.
Yeah, this is when we make our video cut.
Okay, you're gonna need a ship. So yeah, you're an explorer. So like from out, we make sense of what's out there. From here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. Sense is made by looking at the same thing with new eyes. Can't do this alone.
Yeah, can't do this alone definitely comes after a ship because it's
Yeah.
more so of a well, ships can't be crewed or sailed alone.
Mm-hmm. We had okay, so all right.
This is what Tony,
Yeah. From here we explore and make sense of what's out there. Sense is made by looking at the same things with new eyes. Just sort of going to need a ship. Okay, so welcome to use Lectura or Common Ground or whatever, however we express that. Like we can try to get across that it's sort of, we can do that visually. It's a sane place somehow. Like, I don't know, we can figure that out. From here, you do this. We explore and make sense of what's out there. Okay, to do that, you're going to need a ship. Now, this is these are our ships. These are with a ship.
I mean, I would put, you could put this little, it's like a montage equivalent in like video. This is like a transition. And you
Mhm.
could just jump into ships then. You're gonna need a ship. And then if you're reading that and then you see, oh, ship, crew, da, 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 and then so you're getting the full thing and then you could go into ships then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I
so
think it should be possible to do a scrollable animation. I think
Yeah.
yeah,
where you
I
keep
think
panning out the ships are there. You see the ship dock next to the island. Then you like ships can't be sailed alone, so a crew gets aboard the ship, and then expeditions. The ship goes off. It somehow represents everyone giving their perspective of what they see and then returning
That's
back.
interesting. Could we do this here vertically? First, you're gonna need a ship, and then like there's like it's like in a left-hand scroll or right-hand scroll, and like
I
the ship
think we want
pops
to do
up.
this horizontally at the bottom of the screen, probably.
Yeah,
As you're scrolling,
Oh, it's just like a footer that sticks.
it
Got it.
builds in, right?
Okay,
Like
got it, got it, got it. Yeah, yeah,
as you
yeah. Cool.
scroll, new elements come in and then they move across
Got it.
and then move back.
Right on.
So it's a little
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
frame at the bottom of the screen. So yeah, we can storyboard each of these and then like add the as we get the whole scroll done.
That makes sense.
Like how we're scribes making a scroll to tell the tale.
Extra scrolls.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think what's missing is
bring back a scroll.
why do you need a ship? You need to say
This
that.
is, yeah. This is the, you could go out alone again. Like the sentiment is you could go out alone again how you came in, but you're gonna get hit in the face with all the stuff again. But if you're on
Well,
in a ship, you can travel a lot more easily. You're
it'd be
above the
nice to have
line.
it'd be nice to have a frame that's very ominous and it shows how bad it is when you're by yourself and then eventually scroll back in that same frame, but you're on a boat and it's a different like it's like you're doing it's like you're not scared and you're like plowing through it or something, right? Like we can show like that start state where it's chaotic and drowning, and then another state later on that has the exact same layout, but you recognize that you're in a boat with a crew and it's like a different, it's like circling into it.
One possibility, yeah, going off of that is like explaining how like we tried going out there to make sense of it, and it's like a little like a person goes out there and they just get washed back up on shore, and
Yeah.
it's just like it wasn't possible. We found you could do it with the ship, and it's like,
Yeah.
ta-da, there's a ship.
This is where you could use like comic frames to show like, here's the person starting to go out, here's the person going out, here's them getting washed back. If we don't want to animate things.
It's animated. It's just crude animation. I mean, that's more or less what we have time to do. So,
Yeah.
But if, okay, so, okay, all right. So one aspect is, all right. So from here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. You could try this alone, and we could, yeah. I mean, you've already tried it alone and it sucks. So, all right, how do we position that?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, is there something about framing that you inevitably have to deal with this? You can't choose not to almost, so you might as well get a ship and a crew. Like,
yeah,
we're all in this
yeah,
anyway. Instead of like just kind of go and come back, it's more like forming within. I don't know what I'm saying, but
I'm following what you're saying.
it's like you're gonna be around this shit anyway. Might as well do it with a crew and with equipment that helps it not suck.
Yeah. So what we're trying to convey is that we've found a better way to go out onto the latent sea. It's using a ship and a crew, right? Like that's what we're trying to get across here, but right now it's
Yeah.
just the ship. Okay.
Here are we exploring?
This is my like transition was like travel the latency in style, which is not exactly quite right, but it's a shift in stance. Like you can now travel the latency in a different way. Like how you convey that's a hard thing to do in a static site, I guess. That is what we're running into.
Well, yeah, we just need to
We're
figure
building
out,
a little equation. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I had written before was this thing, which I think kind of helps tie them together.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have that in the mock-up. Yeah.
And so it's like,
resize things in here. Yeah, that's good. So this goes somewhere like, so where's you could go it alone. You could go it
Yeah, we
alone,
had-
but when you're sloshing around in it, like,
So
yeah. And I
we
don't
had
even think
that.
you should say you could go it because you already did it. So it's like going alone doesn't work.
yeah.
Why doesn't it work? Because of this.
we
Therefore,
had
you need
Therefore-
a ship.
like this. So like this is the latency, bunch of chaos here, a boundless, blah 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 blah.
I'm putting in the buts and the therefores for now just to help, I don't
That's
know,
fine.
iterate on this thing. Because it works here, like when you're sloshing around in it, yada yada yada. But like negating that thing, there is valuable sense here. Like that transition is important. They are related. So because it's not that we're totally throwing away the latency. We're not trying to leave this world. We're trying to live in it in a different way.
Mhm.
Because there's
Yeah.
sense.
So this is this is how it is, and then there's valuable sense to be found here, whatever we say for that. But you can't made, found, whatever. We can play with that. You're here, home for explorers, a base for expedition. From here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. Okay, like all this is fine.
Yeah,
we actually
I think this you can't find it alone doesn't fit here yet.
No.
because it's like you can't find it alone, and we don't touch.
can't find it on a ship.
So say that
It's like
again?
I guess. Well, you can't find it alone. You can't find it without a ship, and you can't find it alone. So it's like, should we be talking about the ship first before
Yeah,
the
exactly.
crew dependency?
Talk about exactly.
Yeah.
There's valuable sense to be found out there.
So it's less about it alone. You can't find it like without
Well-
a vessel or
Well, then the initial framing
Yeah.
shouldn't be it sucks out there alone. It should be it sucks. You need a ship. Then the ship needs a crew, maybe. Like,
So I'm setting up the idea that the idea that like, okay, you are alone, right? And then here is how you're not alone, right? You land on the island, and then we have the idea that like this gathering is taking place here, that you can go back out. So it's like it's setting up the rest of the story, like by oh, I can't do this alone. That means it's what's the fucking framing?
Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, basically, there's a gun. The gun's going to get used, right? Yeah. So
I see.
whether or not that we are setting up a device that we can then fill in. They're like, oh, this is where we're not alone, right? So this is where alone. Then because the ships are also a partner, right? The crews and the ships make a bond that allow expeditions, right? But anyways, it may or may not work, but that's the logic that I had there. Like, because there is valuable sense to be, because either way we're going to have to talk about the partnering up thing. So this is just maybe a set piece. All right. Well, let's come back to it. Because if you're sloshing around and pulled in every direction by sides, you can't make sense of what's really going on. But there's valuable sense here. But you can't find it alone. It's a transitionary thing, and then like it's a dangling thing that needs to be resolved, right? And then new environment, right? Like that other thing is not resolved, so you feel this non-resolved.
I see.
And then and then we come in with a resolution, and that ties it together, and that feels satisfying, right?
Yeah. So this is more than anything. It's like this chunk here is meant to just set up the world, and then there's a transition.
Yeah. To a place.
The next
problem,
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah. So, and then we are in the broadest solution of that chaotic world, which is like common ground of sanity. We don't know how the sanity got there. We don't know how the common ground got there, which we can resolve or not. But like people will take it for granted. Oh, it just feels nice here. It feels nice here. It feels nice here is because we do this stuff, right? And that's what we're trying to fill in. Yeah. Going on over there, Kristen? I can hear myself on a 2-second delay. All right. Okay, so you're here. From here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. We're still in the ship transition. You're going to need a ship. So this is where there's like a felt sense of like loading in the logic of ship, crew, expedition. Like ship plus crew equals ship plus crew plus motivation to go out equals expedition.
I mean, motivation is the first thing, isn't it? Does that matter? Does the order of operations matter here?
I mean, probably, but like the general equation, like, so we've set up, there's valuable sense to be found here, right? Okay, so we want to find, and we can
All of
bump
this
that.
sets up motivation. There's valuable sense,
Yeah.
a home base for explorers, a base for expedition. It's appealing to a desire, a motive to do something, to explore. Yeah.
And then we're resolve the tension there is that, I mean, we can build that tension a bit more, but like, you know, chaos, there's valuable sense in the chaos, right? But you can't find that valuable sense alone. So, okay, now you're on an island, and on that island, I mean, maybe that's a strong enough premise. Maybe we need to boost it, but from here we explore and make sense of what's out there, which is just restating, which is fine. We can restate as many times as we need to have the idea land. To go out there, you're gonna need a ship, and then ships need crews. And so how do we get the expedition idea across? Like, yeah. Anyways, this is where, yeah, where I've been stuck. So,
Well, why are we not doing it bit by bit? So it's right here. So if from here we
Sure.
go and make sense of what's out there, like what I don't. This is where in my head the transition is first things first. You're going to need a ship,
okay, you're gonna need a ship, and then this is where we talked
these are our
about
ships.
yeah.
They're key to. They come in. This is Tony's stuff, and we can edit this, but
Yeah.
they're smart too.
Yep.
So we can just, if that flows, we can jump into.
Yeah, let's slow down
But
here. So
ships need a crew.
like what do we like the content is all fun. Like how are we showing this content? Like how is it coming in choreographic? Like what is the choreography of this? Like how does it show up on the screen? And then what is actually happening there?
This is going on here. Yep.
Yeah. So like from
This
here,
is visual.
yeah, like because we have the story beats down generally in text, but we need to translate them into a page. So that's the place that. All right, so you're gonna need a ship, and then so this stuff scrolls out. It makes sense. What's out there?
And then you
You're
see
gonna
a
need
ship.
These are our ships. So this is where the key to. Okay, what does that screen look like, I guess? And like, what do we scroll through these things? I need help there. We have a frame. These are our ships. Easier with a ship. That's what I wrote.
When do we, I don't want to derail it, but like, when do we say games? I mean, we say game at the top, but like, is this
Just
where
say
we start
games
to
here.
connect? Yeah, I was gonna say, do we want to connect the expedition to games at this point? Because like, I'd rather try to get people excited about what they're going to do versus just how perfect. Like I obviously I love the world building stuff and the lore and stuff like that, but it's like, should we frame this part as like you need all stuff because it lets you play games. It's not just to understand the world. This is the game part, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like
you don't have to say the ships have like this could be, I don't know, made in like gear with like little schematic stuff or something, but it could be, just be like these are ships. It's how we go out and play games in this agency. I don't know. Is there a way to reconnect it to the fun part? I don't want to just take people on a tour versus lead them to want to play a game.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I was feeling into as well. Like, because describing the actual particular how it all works.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah, like,
tricky
what is-
part here more than anything is right now we're looking at an island and we're looking at a ship. How do we visually transition to talking about games and like talking about
Yeah.
the capabilities of the ship?
Okay.
Yeah, like setting up the yeah, the basic.
Because then we're gonna have to transition back to the island and the ship again.
Yeah.
Choreographically speaking, like one thing that I can see is the island is here, and then this sort of like comes into focus and then maybe expands, and then like a little like things point to this is the library, and this is the collaboratory, and this is the zine printer, and then after like the ship specific piece is done, maybe like either zooms out or
Zooms
moves
back
out of the
out.
way. Yeah, and it's like, well, now maybe we're near the dock here, and then there's like a bunch of like little people here, and they're like waiting to get on,
Yeah,
something like that.
I think that sounds really cool. I just don't know the amount of like
Yeah.
detail we need, like for zooming in, and like what's like, do we need to show like what's on the inside the ship and all that stuff.
Right.
That's just more so Dave and
I
Jordan.
think we can do
whether or not
that.
you guys think.
Yeah, I think that sequence makes sense. We can do it a few different ways. I could see it working. Like
Mhm.
there might be a less one that requires less interstitials,
All the
more
better.
just like cuts. But I like that sequence. I'm totally on board with. I think that makes sense.
Yeah, we're still working with the keyframes. Like, that might work. Yeah. It's so the place that I keep dropping back into is it like, how do we? I don't know what I'm asking. It's like something about the. I wish I had an example of how you express the game. So, like without building the entire universe, is there a shorthand for the the game that you're getting into? That's kind of what you were pointing
Like,
at, Jordan. Like,
yeah, I know. The
Mhm.
thing that's like, I know you and I talked about this last week. It's like my biggest struggle is not having the experience to actually tap to pull into this, right? And so we're
Yeah.
like we talked about, it's like we have to pretend we're people who already experienced or describing it. But it like, and I think we're doing pretty good there. But yeah, I think this feels to me like a part where it's like we you get away with so much if you could use this like a game screen, like a screenshot from gameplay, right? Like
Yeah.
like there's a way that can do so much lifting where it's like I don't know, that I keep wanting to like steer towards that, and I don't know, that does seem like a nightmare to try to
Yeah.
do something.
I mean, a lot of the
I'm
I was looking at game websites, and a lot of them are like a video where it's just like, and then do this, and
well,
explore, and then collect, and
if you
whatever.
see if you see what the mechanics are, then the text can just say whatever the shit it wants, right? It can be
Yeah.
totally, it doesn't have to do the lifting that watching the person interact like communicates so much, right? Or just seeing a screenshot of mid interaction. I feel like there's a lot of value
Yeah.
there.
Do you think we could get away by doing like a high concept like image of like the cozy interior of the ship, and there's like a table with like a board game laid out and like a shelf with like other board games, and they have like titles like reflection and like the sort of things you will be attempting to do with the board games.
There's something interesting about that. Like showing
so,
a
like,
scene of the board game that doesn't actually show the game.
It doesn't actually show the game, but it's
Right,
it's
yeah,
more
yeah.
so about conveying the feel of like it feels like you're playing board games, and
Yeah.
the
No,
purpose
I
of
like
the
where you're
board
going
game
with
is
Okay.
to reflect
where are we
to
in
capture
you got some,
to
Dave?
Like,
I like
no,
where that's going.
I'm feeling into the alternate perspective there. I think that's good.
Yeah.
Like rather
Tony,
than yeah.
Like now I'm trying to think of what's the right place. Like where do we need that? I think that makes sense too. Like that does a job I was describing, right? Where it's like framing it in a way visually we don't have to actually say it in blunt words. I'm trying to figure out what's a good time
it's
to
like it's right here. It's like
it's right here, right?
We're showing the island. We've showed the ship. That's a requirement.
Now it's in,
and then this is like a split frame of like zooming in, and now you're looking within the ship of like, and ships come with high fun sense making devices that work like games, and you show like the interior of the ship and to convey that feeling of like what we're doing on the ship.
Okay. yeah, let me catch up to your visualization of this. I like the zooming into the like environment of play, right? Like that's good. Because we're doing a lot of like explaining the world and stuff like this, which is it's fine, but we could do that explicitly in little zines if we wanted to, like the backstory of ships, or the like how crew, or the first crew, or any of these kinds of things. Like we could do devices there, but all right. So from here we explore and make sense of what's out there. You're going to need a ship, and then okay, so like moving into how do we lay that out? You're going to need a ship. So from here, explore and make sense of what's out there. I don't know what from here looks like. You're going to need a ship. If we are just using the above thing, we're zooming into the dock and like zooming into the ship, and then you're in the ship, and then there is this cozy environment or whatever. How do we lay out the cozy environment such that it's on the screen and we can move text through it to describe what we're looking at? Like what is that? Yeah, this is we have a graphical challenge here. So because like like what I have, like a bit of a, like, the conversation pit, and then, sort of people around it kind of thing, but I don't know where the text goes. Like we can overlay it in sort of like comic style.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing, like almost video game dialogue, like maybe along the bottom left, just like this section where it changes a little dialogue-y, but this isn't dialogue.
Yeah, it's like all right, how do we cartoonify this? You go into the ship. What does that look like? So you're going to need a ship.
So before this, we were okay. I get the first part, the problem.
Yeah.
Once we're talking about you're here on the island, where is the island in the browser? Like along the bottom, sort of? Is that, or is does it
There's a
take
few
up the
ways
whole
we can do that. Like it can. So if the C is coming through, like, can you pull up the browser company site?
Yeah. Oh, Kristen's
Browser.company.
Oh, that Kristen sharing?
Yeah.
Well, crap, we're frozen.
No way to take over. Oh,
No.
He's the host.
Just go to the browser.company.
yeah,
They have that transition, like all the trash comes in. It's our window to everything on the internet. Like, so we're going to do that kind of thing where all that stuff pops up and then it clears out, right? They have that like breaking frame thing that happens.
Yeah.
We're kind of going to do something like that, and then it'll feel like the island. We don't necessarily need to explicitly depict the island. We could have little graphics on the thing. This is common ground, or Isla Cadora, or something like this. So it's green, whereas before it was like, something like that. I don't know explicitly how that can work, but we can indicate it rather than explicitly draw it if necessary. I don't know if that makes sense. maybe it's more dancing about architecture right now. So
Yeah, I mean, do we want to just go through the? I think this flow makes sense. Or we're taking a peek in. Should we just outline what the next beats are and then
Sure.
try to think of the transitions? Or I don't know.
we
I
can
don't
try,
know.
yeah, whatever works. Like, I mean, if it's not popping up now, go to something else. So,
Okay.
like, because there's we can. This is where I keep getting stuck, is in these visualizations, because there's a lot of content that we're trying to get across like really quickly, and we're changing environments a lot. So, yeah, this stuff I'm going to move over here. I need to convey all that. You're going to need a ship.
I feel like there's like 3 scenes maybe that we can use to, like, to
Yep.
me the graphics were
Yep.
like the logo, you in the sea, maybe these are cool waves that as you scroll through, they make clear space for an island. We show the ship, you can highlight over sections, but you scroll into the room with the board game. There's like a computer screen smiling and like a board, like a shelf. And then maybe stools for enough people or something like that.
This
sort of stuff.
Yeah,
That's cool.
we just
I'm seeing
think
it.
that I think that the visual pacing of that is. I think this is all good. Just where
Those chunks
do
feel
we?
nice too.
Totally. And like in the case of like just the box top or whatever, we can do a snapshot of the whole thing, and then you scroll into the sea, and then we build it, right?
Yeah.
From the component parts. I think that's fine. The repetition is okay. Like on marketing sites, you're repeating shit all the time to get things in people's heads. So here, if it's the island, we zoom into the ship that's at the dock. Even if we just we don't have to do all of the zoom in. It just zooms a little, and then the ship comes out, right?
We can
And
highlight
then,
versus actually full interpolate, right? We can highlight and carry and stuff
totally.
like that.
Because a lot of the zooming that we're going to be doing is with copywriting. Like the copy is carrying most of the transitions, because because the visuals won't be enough to tell what's actually going on. So we have to figure out how we're getting those like transitionary texts on the screen. And then once we're like, so we have the you're gonna need a ship, and then like that comes through, and then the ship zooms in, and it does its tilt thing or whatever, and we move into the ship somehow, right? Like you get a generalized look at the ship, and then we need to explain what the fuck is happening in the ship, right? And so, which means that we need some place to put our text or whatever. That stuff can be like, it could be a dot that pops up and like does that kind of thing, but yeah, I'm trying not to make that stuff too complex, or else we're going to end up with, so yeah, like,
yeah.
So,
and so even we could even transition the bottommost frame from like a very rudimentary cozy place with like one board game or whatever, and then explaining how the ship's intelligence grows, and then that's just a fade transition to a more capable ship interior or something like that. So, and that can be represented by more board games, or like going from like a tiny little computer to like a fancier terminal or something like that.
One more thing that could display the growth there is like stormy or choppier waters, and just like the ship doing okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking from the perspective of the interior, but that would be a different way to do it as well.
I'd be thinking like maybe out through a porthole, because I think we had a render somewhere where it was like from the inside of a ship, it's just like calm water versus like fucking chaos out there, but everybody's fine inside.
Yeah, I don't know how well that'll get. I don't know if we have enough frames to get all this across. Yeah, I'm playing the role of super cartoonist here. Like, okay.
Okay, so after we go from the interior of the ship, zoom back out.
Yeah,
Or
all right. So how does that transition work? Like, so the ship is going to show up in like we have like a few frames. It's going to go tilt, 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 tilt. We're inside, and then we're moving through this stuff over here. You're going to need a ship. Like these are our ships. The key to voyaging out over the latent sea, like getting that across. Ships come with high fun sense making. The ships are smart too. Yada yada yada, making them more capable on to the most daring. And then you're going to need a crew.
you're gonna need a crew.
Ships need
Yeah.
a crew.
You can't sail a ship on your own. You need a crew.
Yeah, and then you had I have to compress a lot of this, I think. That's fine though. What do we do there? What are we doing? Yeah.
Yeah, and for this chunk here, I'm just gonna say it, it'd be too difficult to portray, but it's like I'm picturing like a ship sailing, and there's just like a guy on it, and what he records is just like an incomplete picture of something, and then like showing like, okay, that's what happens when you go alone, but when you go together, you can actually capture more or a better version of it. So like one person, you get an incomplete truth, and with multiple people, for the whole crew, you get the actual thing.
Yeah.
Or
so
we could,
sense is made by looking at the same things with different eyes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we can copy can do a lot of this. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
just like
really friendly. That's a really like nice, like I don't know. Yeah, that's good.
yeah, the way I feel it is that we're trying to punctuate like sort of statements of why you're in this environment or whatever. And like if only the statements were there in sequence, then you would kind of get the iceberg of the story, and then the rest of this stuff is filling in, with the graphics and stuff. So yeah, okay. Whether or not it's sense or I don't know what, but okay. We're gonna need a crew. All right. So what's the transition between? All right. Can you go over that again, like, or how you're feeling, or how anybody's feeling the transition from like we're inside the ship. Still need to figure out how we move through that. There's some information. You've zoomed in.
I mean,
Gonna need a crew. Ships need a crew.
are you talking about
We've
the
already,
crew?
like, what's that?
Talking about visuals for crew, for what the crew visuals
Yeah.
are?
So like we've shown an interior of a ship, and that
Yeah.
interior has like some visuals or whatever. It's talking about the ship. There's like a screen. There's that interior you drew, but it's empty effectively because it's at
So the next
dawn.
one, there's 4 people around it, and there's a glowing thing in the middle.
Okay, four people around what?
The table. That's a table, right? On the bottom drawing. It's like a
Mhm.
bottom grid showing the island. There's no one around it.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's another version of it where there's people around it, and now there's a glowing thing that's occurring because of the people are there around the game with the computer. They're all looking in the center of that table, and in the middle of the table is a glowing zine.
Okay, so you scroll.
You scroll
text-
just you scroll the elements on that scene, that little room with the board game. You scroll the people as they fade in. As they fade in, this object, multi-perspective object. I don't know. Is that too sci-fi? Am I getting too weird?
Yeah,
we can do it.
Yeah,
Tony,
It's great.
Tony's reacting.
well, I like it. I think it's more so going back to the ship and why that's important, and the connection of why you can't run a ship on your own is where I'm getting a little bit like caught up on that, because like I would
that's
think
pivoting to scenes versus the ship running on the crew. Got
it's
it.
pivoting to
Yeah.
scenes, but it's confusing because they're the same thing, but
Yeah.
visualized. Like for example, like I could imagine like an image of like the deck of a ship, and there's like one guy, and like the sails are like flapping like crazily out of control, and like there's a fire going out or something like that, and then like it transitions to another one with like multiple people, and like one guy holding the sail, one guy holding the steering wheel, one guy like, you know, on the other place, and it's like now this ship works, whereas one person couldn't make it work. So it's like that is the visual that it's like ships don't, you need a crew for a ship, that's why you need a crew for a ship. But in reality it's the same thing as what you're saying, which is you're in there and you're making the scene together. So it's like it's two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, like what's the basic story I was writing earlier is that like ships can, you know, I don't know how we get that across. Ships can do stuff on their own, but they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And so crews know what to do. The ships the ships can stay alive at the latent sea, right? Like they're from that place. It's comfortable. The crew can know where to go in the latency, and with their powers combined on expeditions, they can find sense or whatever. But that's
Tony, the
abstract,
analogy
so
for the group thing there for me would be, instead of like someone's manning sails, someone's manning like the ropes, it would just be like there's not a captain's chair, there's 6 captain's chairs or something like that. Like there's, I don't know, I don't have the right visual, but I feel like it's something like that.
But I guess how do you, within 2 frames, how could you show one person doesn't make it work and many do? So that's what I think is in my mind what I'm seeing, which is where I'm getting caught up. Another piece that I was kind of exploring is taking into this, dipping a little bit into the metaphor of what was happening before people got onto the island, which was like these ships are sentient and they exist, but they aren't being consciously controlled. So like what was happening before is like people were like within the tides of this latency or below it, and you kind of had these like ships sailing over it, but they didn't know where they were going, because the crews, quote unquote, that were like caught up within the tides were like guiding ships all over the place, and so like they would get shipwrecked and destroyed or whatever. And now we're in a situation where people are consciously on the ship, and they're like, okay, now we're actually taking this thing places, and so that's where the magic happens. But I think that's a little bit too.
Yeah, I think there's a ship zine that like does the here's how we figured this out, here's the backstory. And like what we're doing is we're getting across that like ships are sentient and they need crews. That's it. Like and you want to be on it, and there's probably something like partnering or bonding with a ship. Crews partner or bond with, and we'll probably add something in there that gives the like general sense of the thing. And then if we feel up to it, we can pop a zine in the corner and be like, learn about the history of the thing or whatever, and that pops open something. And that might be fun to write. But yeah, we're like presuming a ton, which is fine. Like, people can fill in the backstory. So
but to your point, Jordan, how do we, is there a way to, from the interior, show how running a ship on your own doesn't work?
It doesn't have to be interior, but
well, because I'm saying we're already there, so it's like that would avoid.
Are we still kind of looking at the board game situation? I mean, can you just kind of be like,
I'm saying that's where we are now. Like that's where the story, like that.
I'm just thinking like you can't play a board game alone in the sense of like if you show like 3 missing chairs, it's like
Yeah.
that doesn't look very fun. And it's just like maybe like a sad character. And the next one is like the crew and the ship computers there. It's just like 4 people around the table, and you still need to show somehow like how that is translating to the environment outside of the ship. But I mean, that's just like what comes to mind first.
Mm-hmm.
Here, on that note, so we have a flattened graphic. I think we need to do this graphically because the high fidelity thing is too hard to understand. We need to collapse it, so we can do something like this is the like crew roster.
Yeah.
I imagine I drew that well. And then this is the computer. And so we have like a list, and then
Mm-hmm.
and as this fills in, it like dit, and then ship functional, like that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So
I think maybe what's missing is we can transition, say when we're in the interior space, say these games like control the ship basically. It's like this is like it's through these games that the ship's navigated, and I don't know how to say it, but it's like these games are necessary to drive the ship, make it work.
yeah,
And so then it's but you can't use them on your own. And so I think that works with what you're saying there.
It's like
yeah.
a ship
Like
needs
I think that
more than two inputs to go anywhere or something like.
yeah. So
Yeah.
what we're trying to do, or okay, what I'm there is like a requirement for expedition, is what we're trying to get across. Like the expedition can't start until this stuff is filled in.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, what is it? Ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Other thing is game one of the ingredients there is that like maybe implied as part of the ship, maybe a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, it's like the
destination.
so we're trying to like build towards an expedition, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
like because we have the ship does this, we have the crew needs there with their kind of expedition, and then like because once you're like ship crew expedition, and then the expedition is the game, right? So such a pain in the ass to do this. We were like right there. We're just missing some frame stuff here.
Ships come with high fun sense making devices that work like games. Equipped with these devices, you will set off on expeditions. Do we need to restate that part?
I think we just need to show it. Like how are we, so like so we don't need to spend much time. Like we need to get across the idea that like the ships feel like this, the ships are sentient or whatever it is, and then like get a crew in the ship, and then get the crew out on an expedition, right? Like we're trying to so that like, because the expedition is the most important part of this, like because that's the game. Like you know, we have a lot of settings. So you know, latency, Isla Cordura, you're in a ship, you're with a crew. Now you're on an expedition, and the expeditions are where you're playing games and you're doing all this stuff. Yeah, I guess we just keep doing it long form, and then we can collapse. All right.
So are you
Yeah,
saying
so-
we introduce the concept of crews before we show the games? Because I think the games, the ships plus the games work as a good sense of like
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Okay, I see what you're doing there. Yep. So, all right, the interior of the ship is the game arena.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then okay, so we get inside the ship, and then you can like boot up an expedition. Like maybe there's a way to get that across, like loading expedition, right? Like you're on shore. Like how do we just follow me here? I have no idea how we fucking show this, but like I have a little bit of an image. So you go into the ship, and the ship is empty, and it feels like a place that you could play a game, whatever the fuck we do there, right? Like Jordan has some imagery, or we've got the interior, we've got the whatever, and then like there can be some idea that like uh, an expedition cartridge or something like that goes
I was
in,
thinking that.
right? And then like this could be the checklist for expedition, like load in crew, like ships need a crew, like ships need a destination. All of that requirement is booted up. Let's go, right? And then on the expedition, you will do this, and you'll do this, and you'll do this, and then you'll come back to shore. Like we're closer there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to also package expeditions like mentally for.
Yeah.
I like that too. There's something really cool about that.
Because we can do like a level 2 like expedition. We could do like some stupid thing on a cartridge or something like this, or whatever that device is, and then like that sort of, it might be a device to explain in games. So how do we tie all that together like visually? Yeah, so interface. Okay, so well, what we got there is like you can't do this alone or whatever. Where are we? Let me go back to the whole thing again. From here, we explore and make sense of what's out there. You're going to need a ship. Go into the ship. Now we're in the ship. The ship is where. Ship is the game console.
Yeah, so it's almost like I'm thinking just on the perspective of the interior of the ship. So it's like these are the ships, they're the key to voyaging out. Then it's zoom in. They come equipped with so like you zoom in and it's like an empty cozy thing, and they come equipped with high fun sense making devices, and those can like transition in or fade in. It's with these devices that you'll set off on expeditions and make sense of what's really going on. The ships are smart too. They figure out which devices to use and when to use them. When you like, so it's like saying like when you pick your destination or whatever, the ship smartly picks what devices you need. And so maybe like some of the devices like fade in or fade out and whatever. And it's like they get highlighted, like these are the ones you need to destination X, whatever it is. And it's like, but you can't do this alone because, a person can't use all these things all at once. And that's where the crew comes in and everyone's in there using this stuff.
It's a lot.
That's an idea.
It's good though. Like the basic build-in is good. We just have to collapse it into something that is not Avatar. We're not quite at Avatar.
We're not
But-
Nothing's wrong with Avatar, man.
There's nothing wrong with Avatar, but we need James Cameron and $200 million.
Well, let's Tony, where did that show up in your talk with Kristen? Did you guys touch on James Cameron?
Yeah, we're meeting with
Yeah,
him
yeah.
next week.
I mean,
Dude, I'll go.
Me-
I'll talk about being a future vor with him.
We could talk
Mm.
about the original Pandora from, what is it? The Jesus book
The
you
Jesus
found.
incident.
Yes.
Yeah.
but maybe
Call 'em out.
so over here, Dave, where you had the checklist plus the interior, say
Step
like
up for a bit.
Yeah, I think he's
Sorry,
probably
you said that.
listening. But
okay, let me say it anyway.
Please do.
So we have the interior, we have this checklist, but the checklist is actually titled Expedition to I don't know what would be a good example expedition to show off here. But
Just clarity or
Uh,
something. Just a value or
exped-
something.
I don't know. Yeah, expedition, and then the ship knows which devices to use on expedition, and so all of a sudden the devices can get highlighted in like different colors, like blue, green, orange, whatever, and then
That's
they show
cool.
up here on the right hand column, like so it's the same image like mirrored.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like these are the devices that are needed, and then a single like you need a crew to make this work because then it'll show like expedition status impossible or whatever, and then it's like when the crew fills in and there's a crew member to each device, and then they like show up in the image and in the
because you can't
checklist.
touch all the knobs at the same time, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And so when you have a crew member for each device, then it's like expedition a go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
good. One more thing I was gonna say, if we're struggling with the multiplayer thing, we can maybe give ourselves a little bit of room by in the banner image saying a game of two or like three or more people or something like in the like OurShip, exploration game for groups of two or more or something like that.
I don't think that's the hard part. The hard part is the why. Like, why do you need more people?
Well-
Because it's about guiding them through the story. Because like we can just say it's for X number of people, but it's like
Yeah,
Well, I'm
I
just
think on
saying
the box top, we
this
can
this
cover that,
visually
yeah.
does it. We don't. I don't saying. I'm saying is I don't know how much you have to explain it versus just the game already assumes it, and then you just like. I think the checklist does a perfect job, or just showing multiple seats and just saying. I don't know. I don't know if we have
Yeah.
to justify the multiple people perfectly because it's a game for fun with people at the beginning, right? Like I guess I think we can be a little more shorthand. I think this is probably as deep as we probably need to go with the checklist kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
the checklist
I
is
think-
enough.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to get across is just graphically very quickly like a pre-flight checklist or whatever, and it's a delivery system for certain types of information. So like if we're in the interior of the ship, like that feels like something. Assume that like whatever we're getting across needs to be gotten across like very quickly, right? Like we can't too much build up. They're spending too much time in the thing, right? So like what I have a felt sense of is there is like the 3D view or something like this of the ship, and then there is like some control panel-y kind of style on the right hand side, right? And there is an operational state and a non-operational state, and like the move between non-operational and operational is our delivery mechanism for starting off like getting us ready to go on this little expedition path. I scrolled up over where we had the little horizontal bottom thing. So we are setting off on this, right? So like pre-flight checklist kind of thing. I don't know, whatever. So a cartridge could come down, and that's the expedition. And then like that, like whatever the topic is, this is feeling like maybe a lot still, but then like the crew loads in, and then we describe the crew somehow. Like and up top we probably have like on the frame, like down here where it says you're going to need a ship. like this frame is going to be consistent, and we're going to swap this out. Like, so you're going to need a ship. Ships need a crew. That can be the top level statement on whatever the view that you're looking at, right? And we can scroll through those. Yeah, then the ship becomes operational effectively. Like, I'm good to go, and then you zoom out, or maybe something like this, and go on the expedition. I don't know. we're doing the setup for an expedition, basically. Like,
Yeah.
and trying to like get across everything that they need to know in the process of filling the ship and then moving out onto the expedition. Then send them out on the expedition and bring them back to shore. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it will also help if we sort of restate this sentence here. From here we explore and make sense of what's out there, to like, from here we set out on expeditions to make sense of what's out there.
Sure.
Because you are right. Everything that we're talking about is in service of the expeditions. So it's like,
Yeah.
let's set up expedition early on. It's like, from here we go on expeditions to make sense of what's out there. To
Yeah,
do
cartridge-
that, you're going to need a ship. And then da 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 da.
The cartridge is good, but I'm also starting to think maybe it's more like a deck of cards in a board game. An expedition, you draw an expedition card, and it has a list on it. And
Yeah, I
slots
think
in or
it
something.
can.
I'd like to
even
bridge
think
the
of it
board
as-
game and the lore a little bit if we can.
Just, I mean, you could combine those two things. Like, it can be there. This is like a trope that's showing up all over the fucking place. The ARC thing, when you signed up for it, they gave you a membership card that you
Oh,
could
yeah,
like
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
spin in 3D.
Yeah,
It's that,
yeah.
right? Like, this is
Right.
a totem that like feels like whatever it is in the universe, and it can have like a graphical style that's like, this is this is where you could do a visual language that, like, in the case of Fiasco or whatever, it's this type of mission or that type of mission or this type of expedition or whatever. So in this case, it could be like, we need to come up with expedition types, but like a topic, and then it's got like some. I hesitate to make this too specific, so I think we make it feel like it loads up something, right? Okay. From here, we set off on expeditions to make sense of what's out there. Therefore, you're going to need a ship. Okay. Zoom into the ship. A lot to figure out there. But like, we're in the ship, and the ship is empty, but we boot it up with what we need to go on an expedition. So, but ships need a crew, and crews need a destination, or something, I guess.
Yeah, that part. Ships, crews need a destination.
I mean, we don't need to do that, but crews need a purpose. It may be that it's implicit, and we don't need to worry about it. Like, they
I think that one might be implicit.
okay. So, but ships need a crew. Ships, and then ships are sentient, need a crew. The bond is satisfied. All right, and then
If we have something somewhere on this where, I'm sorry if I missed it, but like some sort of interface for what it, like an expedition, like it's like a game cartridge or expedition like charter, where it has the like focus or topic, like if we could have somehow that alluding, because that would help fill in some of the blanks with the, not motivation, but like, what are you going out on missions to do? Like, it's just examples.
I think that was kind of maybe represented by, I don't remember if you were here, by like the different board games inside the interior view, but I don't really know if this like
yeah,
was, but I don't know if that's still Oh yeah, that like last picture on the bottom left there.
Yep.
Drew. It was like the wall would have like different
Mhm,
like reflection game and just like a creativity generation.
All right, so we could do. Okay, so we have the interior of the ship. You're in the ship. We describe what the ship does. A lot of all right. So ships are sentient. They blah 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 blah. We get through that. Ships need a crew. Outfit it with a crew. Now expeditions need a destination. Then we can there show a list of expeditions, and you choose one, and then it sends you out on the expedition, right? Like because the ship and the crew choose an expedition.
Yeah.
And there we could get across the idea. Here's a list of types of expedition,
yep,
which could we just write those? So like
We make up-
F5.
yep,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that's where the cartridge or the card or the
Yep.
purpose comes in. So
yep,
empty ship, like talk about what the ship is. Like so all right, we're zooming. Okay, we've got a fucking hourglass. We have the whole of the world, which is the latency,
yep,
Isla Cordura, ships, crew, expedition, go out.
Yep.
And then come back and do it again. All right. The bottom of the bottom of the hourglass, I guess, is expeditions or something. Like the actual out and back on that. Okay. Okay. We're
okay, okay.
all right. Empty ship. Through the ship. Boot up. Expedition. Set out. All right. So what do we do here? This is where we're basically describing the play. I mean, and bringing back a zine. So, yeah, this was actually, I don't think in your, I don't know, in the copy that you did, Tony, I don't know that you got here on this. So, all right. Oh yeah, you had together your intelligences and perceptions drive the ship's equipment and turn the ship's intelligence weaves it all into a record of exploration called a zine, a record of a crew's understanding. Zines are brought back. So, but the whole of the expedition, we sort of, yeah, describing what you do on the expedition or you know the meat of the game here, I guess, which we don't know other than like you're out on the sea, like sort of looking through each other's eye, like doing something. Did I write about this? Something maybe.
Yeah, I have some stuff on this just from the slide deck. It's not in lore or story or narrative though.
Okay.
It's like prompt-based journaling game modality. Self and group reflection is key. A set of mini games make up an expedition. Missions of your choosing. Pick what topic resonates best with your group. Coming back to land. To navigate back to land, reflection and curation of mission findings, deciding on the best discoveries and insights. The results and artifact of exploration, a zine. So it lays on top of that. I can drop this in if it's useful.
Sure. I mean, we're collapsing that. I have pick a topical destination, which is where we've left off, brave the sea together, try to make sense of what you encounter, return
Yep.
home with a record of your adventure.
Yep.
Like those are the
Yep.
top level beats. Which I mean, yeah.
That's it.
So then we just need to. All right, so we have sea, island, ship, inside the ship, preparing for takeoff,
Which means you
build
need a
up
crew,
that thing,
which
crew,
means you need to pick an
destination.
expedition. Yep. And then you can
All
go
right,
out
now
and do the thing.
brave the sea together. Try to make sense of what you encounter, return home with a record of your adventure. So we need to scaffold that part now.
So at this point, I guess we zoom back out and it's the ship within the context of the sea.
Yeah. So yeah, this is where we could do that
The
sort of
horizontal
graphical thing at the bottom. Yeah. Like, what do we put in the main frame though? So dialogue between the crew, we could do that. We could.
I think that makes sense. Like potentially like showing the progress of like the ship setting off to a destination, like exploring that and then coming back to the island. That's happening along the bottom, and then like in the middle there's like a handful, like 2 or 3 different like illustrations or what's going on within the ship. So it's like the crew like going through dialogue or debate or something like that.
Some representation of the games or the sense making or the encounters or whatever. Okay.
On the expedition, so that's going on along the bottom, and then so basically we kind of need to just expand on this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also this over here. Right?
Yeah.
Or is
Yes.
that zine's a whole other thing? A whole other section?
I think
No.
here's where, the zine bringing
is
it
really
back
good.
to the island.
Who did this?
It's cool.
That was me.
I think John did.
Trying to draw
Like-
what Tony was talking about. Like where it's like one is like not so good, but if you had like you could display why we need 6,
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, you can see the thing, the elephant.
Yep. Who did this? It's good. I need to know
Who done it?
who done it.
These are like periscope views.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. On the expedition. Try and collapse this into storyboards, I think.
So that would be
yeah. Well, maybe it just we could expand it into like 3 little beats. What would those things be?
Yeah, so set out, encounter something.
Games, or do we talk about games in here? Mini games?
That's the encounters. Um,
I think we don't need to go like we can talk about the impact of the games because we kind of already talk about the games in the ship. So it's like what do the ships have? What makes the ship special? It's that they have the games that let you go and do these things. And here this is expanding on what is happening within the expedition. So it's like here it's talking about what do the games do, I guess, not necessarily how they work, but it's like what's special about these expeditions that our ship provides that's good. So I think like this thing that John drew is like really good. It's like that's an example of like the ships bring in multiple perspectives to form a complete picture or a more complete picture. And then like something about like potentially like dialogue or
okay, yeah. So
Like, I don't know if this would be
Headline
totally
goal.
too metaphorical, but just like content dialogue and such going into like a little laboratory looking machine that's all bubbling and like shaking, and then from the other side of it outputs like something more like a artifact or like a unified thing, and that's like the zine printer
You're getting
capture
multiple
device.
inputs and then blah, 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 and then one output.
yeah. I think that makes I think that's the metaphor for the whole thing kind of.
True.
It's like
Yeah.
That's an
what
hourglass
is
too.
yeah. I guess what would be ideal here is if we can think of like what are the 3 steps to making a zine, and like I
From
think
what
bringing in
point
multiple from you being on an expedition, like
on
when
the
you're playing
expedition?
games,
Okay.
what are the 3 steps to doing it? So you have your crew, you're together, you have all the tools
Mhm.
necessary to do it.
Yep.
Yep.
What are the 3 things that are going to happen to make it happen?
You have to
Bringing in
play the games.
multiple perspectives is
Yep.
one of them. Well,
Bring that's
but-
multiple perspectives. You have to bring
Yeah.
multiple perspectives into focus on one topic area. Then you
Yeah.
have to reflect and curate them.
yeah.
Then you
Okay.
press a zine.
So let's do it through the perspective of an encounter, maybe.
Mhm.
So you set out, you encounter something. That's what you do the multi-perspectival thing on, right? So encounter, perspectival, and then insight or something. And then I don't know. Yeah, the 3-step thing is tough. I don't know if we can get it down that small. Because you're also doing that over and over again on a mission. Like those are the mini games. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if that was okay. So expedition, mini games, multiple encounters. So you're encountering. You are the encounter and the perspective are the same thing. Like it's a delivery system for the,
Yeah.
and then that
So it's like
outputs sense.
perspective sharing, like intermingling of the perspectives, and then it's like dilution, and then it's repeat.
Yeah.
What's the dilution?
Well, the dilution is after you've shared your perspectives and like dispersed it to everyone, then the multiple perspectives kind of get reduced in everyone's mind into something
Mm-hmm.
more compact.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we're looking
Yeah.
for the like simplest
It's like a balsamic
explanation.
reduction.
We're looking for the simplest balsamic reduction.
Yes.
All right. So you set out on the expedition. Everybody, the crew is ready and good to go. We're headed towards something, right? It's dungeon crawling at this point. Now you are encountering. Like the encounters are, each of the encounters are a friction that produces sense, right? Like, and then there is the first phase, which is collection, and then there is a second phase, which is refinement. So like that out is collection, back is refinement, and then refinement collapses it into a zine that you bring back to shore, which allows the island to grow. We don't need to worry about that yet. So frame wise, does that feel good? Like I don't know if it can story tell. It might be too conceptual and might not tell as a story, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good in terms of like trying to convey to people like what you're going to be doing, which is it's like you're going out, each of you are like recording what you're seeing, and then there's a step where those things that were recorded are kind of thrown in together, and you're forced to reconcile all those perspectives and try to form something meaningful out of that.
Okay, so maybe it's too close to reality in the way I'm describing it. So okay, so the highest level beat there is multiple perspectives gathered, and then multiple perspectives refined into essence. So
yeah,
senses gathered and refined into electronic sense, e-sense.
E-sense.
E-sense. No more
Essence.
cutesy stuff. It's cutesy. we shoot it in the head.
Oh,
Yep.
gosh.
We've got too much cute.
It got really dark when I went away for 30 minutes.
Well, we're
No more cute.
We're in the
Complete man.
choreography. Yep. Like we're in the
Okay,
collapse
so
now. We're
encounter something on latency, crew shares their individual perspective of said encounter. Those perspectives are shared. You gather the multiple perspectives into one that repeats per game, right? And then
Sure.
the expedition has an like that's the collection, the going out, and then the coming back is a repeat of like the gathering multiple into one again.
I don't think I
So
understood that.
So each game you're gonna give an individual perspective as a player. And each game you're gonna gather all those multiple perspectives as a crew and then sort of get one single like emergent understanding of what this thing is from a multiple perspective. That is a
I don't know.
fractal.
You think each game's going to have that cycle? I think that's definitely a cycle of an expedition.
Yeah.
But I guess that's where I was talking about, like, this is where we're explaining what the games allow you to do, and less about like the specifics of like a game does this, a game does that, and it's just like this is describing the expedition, and that's why I'm saying like the talking about the specifics of the game I don't know. That's where I get confused.
Yeah, so what I'm feeling now is like the specifics, and then we can extrapolate out to the simplest bare bone explanation of what you're doing. So like what I was feeling there is the simplest expedition or explanation of the expedition is something about like going out with many perspectives and coming back with one.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like,
Yeah.
so maybe we can like, there's something to that pattern, right? You're going
Yeah.
out looking through a bunch of eyes, but you're coming back with one perspective.
Or like everyone locks perspective into the ship, and the ship by going latency creates a single one out of them or something. Like there's actually like a fusion process, perhaps.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's our highest level possible expeditionary thing. Everybody comes in, we all got a bunch of eyes, we're all like looking at the sea, and then like at a certain point we turn around and we are bringing back a unified, but not necessarily a consensus, but something that collapses the perspective like into something that is multi-dimensional, right? We're bringing back like, you know, this holographic understanding of the sea, and then that's what you build your common ground from. Yeah.
Collapses the time as well. Like if it took us multiple steps to get to a thing, we don't have to like replay all of them. We just like get the final thing out of
It
that.
definitely collapses it for other people too, because they don't have to go on the expedition. They can just look at the artifact.
Yeah. So this
So the
is
collapse is not of perspective, it's the collapse into artifact so that you can get the multiple
Yeah.
perspectives. To get, and like multiple perspectives is one meta perspective or something. Yeah.
a hollow perspective. Yeah, we may find language of that for that on the go. So for now, it's okay. This is our this is the core of what we do. We're back to this again. We found another core. Okay. Go out with many perspectives, come back with one. How do we explain this?
Go out with many, come back with one.
Go out as many, come back as one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it's more so you go out with the intent to find a perspective on your destination. When you're there, you develop many perspectives and then you return with one. But what you said sounds better anyway. But
I mean, well, so now we need to break it out into a story, right? Like, so
Yeah.
that's the highest level. We could say that, but what the hell does that mean in terms of a game, right? Like, so like describing the expedition in beats, where like, all right, yeah, that's where I'm experiencing aporia currently. Is like, yeah.
How you
So
explain
I mean,
that in game terms? Okay.
Yeah, we're like confusion, disorientation, overwhelm. You know, all of these kinds of things are the encounters basically, and like you're having to re-coordinate over and over again through these games until like you have this, you know, sort of aligned view, or I don't know, like, and then when you bring it back, that thing is like I mean, we're doing it now. Like when you can bring this thing back, it's like highly salient, and it is an essence of something, right? So how do we describe that in like expeditionary terms?
Yeah, my instinct goes to spatial perspective, point of view stuff, but like what's a little weird is that everybody's on the same sort of ship. So you know, like what could work there is like everybody goes out onto rafts around the iceberg and like takes their photos of it. But I wonder if there's like some of the presentation of that, like what is the delta between these different perspectives, and how does that get reconciled?
I'm feeling into like relational or camaraderie. It's like it's relationship stuff is what's popping up to me, because like you go out as many individuals, like each expedition kind of starts like this with this feeling. And you come back as one crew. So like there's different obviously there's another multi-perspectival view on this, like everyone's gonna have a different feeling, but there is one of the relational sense where even with us now and over time, your baseline is gonna get higher and higher for like how much of a relationship, like the strength of the relationship. But every time we do this, we come back as a stronger crew. So something is growing. Like you're growing the ship,
Yeah,
the
I have that.
relationship, the connection. I don't
Yeah, the
because
island
you're
grows, the ships get smarter, the crews have more fun together, the expeditions get harder, and the zines get more interesting. Is the like sort of summation at the end of the expedition that I want to drop in. So
that's the felt sense of the whole thing. By
but for
going,
now, when you're yeah, go ahead.
just by going through the experience, you're strengthening something. Like it's the process. This is like what we were talking about before. If AI cuts out the process, so by going on the expedition, you're getting
Yeah, so
experience.
this is where we're pointing to the hard, like, so what we're trying to point to is the meat of the expedition. Like you will encounter confusion, disorientation, like excitement,
So describe
terror, like
describe aporia.
to some degree, like because that's the and then like some resolution of that, like you know, like how is there like a description of like role-playing games or whatever that like that you might experience these kinds of things or something like, you know, in Dungeons and Dragons you will encounter, there you have like encounter monsters, like, you know, slay foes, be betrayed by, you know, whatever, I don't know, like maybe there's some angle there,
Yeah.
because this is, we're describing the role play here, like what you experience in like a dungeon crawl or our version of that kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's like
This is far more detailed than we need to go, but we can detail it out and then strip it.
yeah, so it's like uncharted waters, unknown creatures,
Mm.
disorientation, like you're dizzy, you've got seasickness, like these are all the things, like I mean we could go into the story of it, like because an aporia experience on sea, and there's different versions of this. You haven't seen land for days, so you're starting to get disoriented. The ship is like, the sea is really choppy, you're feeling nauseous and
Yeah,
disconnected.
are there story beats that can boil
So
that down into, yeah,
unknown, reconciliation of the unknown, artifact of known. I mean,
the sea will try to kill you and your ship and your crew.
Yeah, this
I mean, so
What-
this, I mean, that could be the setup effectively, like you know, on an expedition, right? The latency attempts to kill you. I don't know. Because like you know, we're at harbor, we've set up the ship, we're ready for the expedition, we're excited, we go out, we boot it up, we're headed towards the destination. Yeah,
Maybe
we
a
could
useful
do
frame
them.
might be just like remove one of the elements that we have now, and like what becomes trickier. So if we don't have a ship, we have a crew. Is there something that changes? If we have a ship but no crew, is there something that changes? Like in this case,
Yeah. Well, so I do think one important thing is for us to internally conceptualize that a crew and the ship are kind of the same thing, where
Yeah,
in the sense that
The ship is part of the crew, right?
well, the crew makes the ship, and the ship is really just is personified by our software. That is, it does take into, you know, hope the grail is that eventually, like, we do have like ships that know about crews and know how to like treat different people, but initially the ship is just the people themselves. And that's why when I wrote like the ships are smart too. They figure out which device to use and when to use it. That part is us, like our software that's going to try to guide you in different ways. But then I say that their intelligence grows as they complete expedition and better understand you. That part literally means that like the ship, the crew, the people on it become smarter as they work together, and they know how to understand each individual person better because as they go on these expeditions. And so
Yeah.
making them more capable to take on the most daring of expeditions. It's like that part is about the crew themselves becoming more capable over time.
Okay,
Gaining
so maybe
experience.
we push that rather than like trying to express explicitly what the expedition is. We give an overview where we have this like bottom thing where it's like crew goes out, has an encounter, has an insight, brings a zine back, whatever, right? Like that thing, and then the text or the display is more of what you're talking about. Like as the ship encounters kinds of things, the crew grows, it's smarter, all the we're building up the capabilities or whatever. And yeah, I don't know if that like that's how we explain expeditions, and then we come back to Isla Cordura. Did that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I wonder. I would like to weave that in with the multiple perspective piece.
Yeah, what if we did
Okay.
like, so if it's scrolling through a website, you're doing snapshots of like, first you see that one and it doesn't really give you much of a picture, and then you're getting that one, it gives you more of the picture. So you're like you're literally piecing it together as you scroll. Like that could be and you're merging some like image at the end. It could have words in it too. It could be a zine. It's a cover of a zine. You can't quite see it until you've like, and like there's some, like that's the visual thing, but it's punctuated by something else. Because then you're literally showing people the multiple perspectives.
I think there's
Okay.
something there that I could see with like individual little cartoonized characters that are the different crewmates, like
Yeah.
involved in different steps of that process. And it's just like,
Yeah.
boom,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does it, and then he does it,
Look,
and then
John
she does
shared
it,
this
and then
thing. Look, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, not John, but whoever John
Right.
is.
I
Yeah.
mean that's kind of what I was doing with this. Like these
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
are like this thing. This represents the whole of the expedition. Each one of these is a
Hmm.
exuberant. Tick up. As you go across. Okay, so all right. we have a frame for this. We just need to come back to it, I think. Unless you guys want to keep smashing our head against this.
John has to leave in about 10 minutes.
Well, good
I
good
should
time to
eat
probably put
something
it
at
down.
some point here too.
Yeah, I just made myself an emergency peanut butter sandwich.
Emergency.
Yeah, so my felt sense is to try and get all the rest of this that we just did storyboarded somehow.
All the rest of what? Where?
Just everything that leading up to the expeditions, trying to like collapse that into storyboards, so that we have it as a reference. I don't know, Kristen, if you have time, maybe we could do that. I just need help holding it.
Yeah.
And then,
Is less people better?
I mean, whatever. If
'Cause
anybody, I mean,
we could take a break and
well,
come back, and anyone who can come back.
that might be good. Then we can just run through it, and then we have this thing set aside because we still need to work this. But like, if we can get that in isolation, know the rest of it is more or less squared away. It'll be easier to think about this. So zoom back out, and then so we have expedition, explanation, and then dropping segue in back to Isla Cordora, and like, you know, sign up or join or whatever it is. Like, grab the email. That's and then still figuring out the details on all of the individual scenes, but that seems like where we're at right now.
Take a break and we'll come back for whoever can come.
Got it.
I just like the thought of you want to work on it with me because you have the most of the vision of it and I probably have the least. And somehow that works out well. Like where
Possibly.
you could overpower me intellectually on it and it helps get the thing out. For some reason that popped into my head and I was like, interesting.
Maybe.
I don't mind either. Like I'm willing to play the foil.
The foil.
That's sort of, I feel like that sometimes because I'm like, I don't know, is this helpful? And sometimes he's like, oh, it's helpful. And I'm like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah.
It just gives
Maybe.
you room because I don't have, yeah, I'm not as powerful as you in this.
Well, mostly, I mean, yeah, but getting it into like some organized like storyboard structure. I mean, Jordan, if you could help on that, that might be because this is where you're strongest. So or significantly stronger than I am. Like, because I don't know, I start holding it in my body and I want to
Explode. Mhm.
basically.
All right, well,
yeah.
John, are you out for afternoon? You're leaving?
Depending, I'm gonna be driving back and forth between places, so I'll try to pop back in, but
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit crazy.
Okay. Tony, Jordan, what do you got this afternoon?
I have some chores I'm gonna do right now. It might take like an hour or two, but I can help join after that.
Yeah, I'm just ignoring all people trying to talk to me about other stuff for a while. I'm still good though. I have nothing scheduled, so
I'm just Jordan's ignoring people. Tony's doing chores right now, which I like. I'm just doing some chores right now, and I'm like, wow, what do you? Yeah.
And then hopefully at like 3 or 4, I'll just tear through it all real quick. But I can come back for sure. I'd rather just move through this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Dave, Jordan, and I will come back in a half hour. Tony, come back whenever you can. John, dip in, and we'll record it. So if you can't, either if you can't, then and you want the playback, but hopefully we'll have an artifact.
Zine.
A zine.
A zine.
Sounds good.